Personally, I've done about 23 investments, all of them other than Adventus in the UK. I started angel investing by accident. The last job I held was I was a sales and marketing director at Ernst & Young and looking after entrepreneurial services. And actually running the Entrepreneur of the Year programme gave me great first-hand interactions with entrepreneurs and finding out what worked, what didn't work, and sitting on the selection panel in terms of who was the winner. And that experience led me to start working with more and more entrepreneurs, and then actually had a bit of my very first angel investment IPO'd within 7 months of me investing. So I made a lot of money, but I learned all the wrong lessons because I just thought angel investing was very, very easy.
You were an investing genius, obviously.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's exactly what I thought. That was sadly the conclusion I reached. And you'll be pleased to know that since then I've done my best to catch up with the average. And I'm succeeding, but I've hopefully learned a lot of lessons in the first 4 years of my investing. I probably did about 18 companies in the last 3 years. So that's me. I've also got a fund management business in the UK called Flight and Partners Limited. What we do is we actually buy distressed businesses. So it's quite the other spectrum, and I've obviously been a good customer to the fund with my businesses. And what we do is we buy distressed companies and we turn them around. So that's me, and I look forward to. With a lot of European angels, is the European angel networks are predominantly run by administrators. There are very few angels on the boards of angel associations, very few if any. And the problem I always had was when I was doing these angel investments, everybody kept telling me how great it was and how vital it was to the national interest, etc., etc. But nobody was telling me how scary it is and actually how the statistics don't actually stack up and how you need to do certain things, etc. There was never a caution to it. So having lost a lot of money and a lot of emotion, because it's a very emotional thing to do, angel investing. And I just started to write a blog, Business Angel blog, just to share my. Integrity is one of those things that you can't. If there was a formula, then people who don't have integrity would try and copy it. It's just a judgment you reach, and I've been burned. I think one of the lessons, and being positive about this, is sometimes one of the lessons I learned early on, which was the wrong lesson, was business is business, personal stuff is personal stuff, and sometimes you have to work with people you don't like. I've learned 20 years later that's a very, very bad lesson, because I've been in situations where I've worked with people I don't like, and invariably you don't actually make money in those situations because you're too busy having lawyers protecting you all the time. Or, even if you do make situations, there are 2 occasions where there was actually a lot of money on the table, but none of us could get the money out because there was just no trust. So I think in integrity and trust, so my positive would be work with people you like and trust. And self-appreciation are very, very closely linked. There's you want to avoid people who are self-made and in awe of their creator. So you want to avoid those kind of people. So I think the way we conduct ourselves is very important, and I've always tried to act myself with integrity so that if an entrepreneur had a choice between the investors, that they would actually choose me. Because I don't want to invest in deals that no one else wants to invest in. I would like to invest in a deal where actually there is slight crowd.
Oh, that's a great segue. He's reading my slides.
Being a sales, my background in sales and just sales. So whenever somebody says this is what the product, often what happens is people explain what something, the features and benefits. They describe the features of something rather than the benefits. Whereas I'm just a salesperson. I'm just thinking, why would somebody want to buy that? And that sometimes helps amazingly in commercialization conversations. The other thing for me, it's always people. You see a business plan, that's great for, this is the way we see the world at this moment in time. The day after, management typically have to make about 20 to 25 decisions a day. So it's always got to be the quality of the people, and all you hope is that the people you're backing get more of the decisions right than wrong. That's all you can hope for. Yeah, absolutely. The number one reasons why a company becomes distressed financially is because they haven't hit projections. So it's a classic situation we've all come across where they build in a cost base expecting revenues of here. And then when the revenues aren't there, the cost base is still there. The cost base is tied in for 2-3 years. How many times have you seen CEOs, and especially the old days, buy huge properties for companies when actually that really wasn't needed certainly in the first 3 or 4 years, and you've got all these empty desk syndromes. So we've all been to companies we've invested in, and we see the CEOs driving a better car than we have, having a better, newer laptop than we have, and you just think, wow, that's where my money's going. Or the worst is there was one guy one company I invested in, who flew over to the United States every single month, business class. And I don't travel business class, and I don't expect companies that I've invested in to travel business class until they are spending their own money, as in they're making profits. I have no problem with CEOs treat themselves very well, but it's got to be your own money, the company's money, as in profits, rather than angel investors. But the two things I have learned about boards is I'm very nervous about investing in companies where they are bringing an angel investor along who is effectively putting in a very small amount of money. I had a situation where an investor was putting in 10,000, but was going to take out something like 25,000 a year as a remuneration for being a 1 day a month director for 3 years, non-negotiable. And I was amazed at how often that comes up. And what happens is these people are very good at investing in their own PR. So they convince people that by having me on your board, gold dust will appear. So they're putting in $1 million, and it's going to be very hard to say no. Whether their being on the board adds value to the direction of the company. Because again, you do get some, the battle of the egos, where you do get somebody who writes a check for $1 million and then wants to run the company. What I'm investing in is the management team that I've seen, not necessarily the non-exec